column of water, the chemical gets lighter, so the head pressure gets less. In order to maintain the head pressure, you've got to keep the shaft full. I'd also, in the book, I'd written about how the shafts were replenished with this chemical. And these are shafts on the outside, on the east side of the Great Pyramid. There's also shafts on the south side of the Great Pyramid, too. So I had theorized that they had some kind of underground chamber, but when I found out about these shafts, it made sense to me that they would be replenishing the shafts here from the outside rather than an underground chamber. And so we have the southern part right here, and the southern shaft coming out on the south side, and then the northern shaft coming out on the east side. We talked about the southern shaft having a hydrochloric acid solution, a dilute solution in it. We see that the limestone is eroded on this particular part. I'd also, by the way, made a prediction before another exploration of the southern shaft in 2001, was it, or 2002, when Fox Television or National Geographic did their exploration with Pyramid Rover. And I posted an article on my website, What Will Be Found Behind Gantenbrink's Door, because for the Giza power plant the hypothesis to hold together, they'd had to be predictive, it had to be falsifiable, and evidence that was uncovered had to support it, or we go back to the drawing board, or we just throw it out. And when they did their exploration, we had an intact electrode here on the right. This one, when Gantenbrink sent his robot up, the lower part of this particular electrode was laying on the floor over here, but this one was intact. But you will note that these are eroded down the length of them. And the erosion pattern is a normal erosion pattern if it is like a falling column of acid or acid solution, where the lower parts would be immersed for a longer period of time than the higher parts. And so you would get a taper. The column would drop, and then it would fill again. Then it would drop, but the lower parts would be immersed for a longer period of time, so therefore they would suffer the most erosion. Well, when they went in to do their drilling, they were going to actually drill through this block. They called it a door. I don't know why they call it a door. I think it was a nomenclature that was developed when Gantenbrink went in. They call it Gantenbrink's door. Even Gantenbrink doesn't call it a door. He calls it a USO, which is an unidentified stone object. But this is the Pyramid Rover. But what they had to do before they drilled was to determine just how long their drill bit had to be. Makes sense, right? Because they needed to know how thick that limestone was so they could determine what size drill to use. So this little device on the end of their robot is an ultrasonic thickness tester. And it has to press up against this limestone block. It has to fully press up against it. There can't be any gaps, any air gaps between, in order for them to get a good reading. And you'll see that we have an intact, almost intact electrode there. And then it's up against the block now. But look, something seems to be missing. Notice that? Obviously, they didn't say anything. They stayed mute on that, but they had to remove the lower portion of this electrode in order for that sensing device to fully connect with the block. Now, the interesting thing, too, is that they determined the block was 3.25 inches thick. And my illustration indicated that it would be about 3.64 inches. what was beyond. They drilled their hole. They went in with an endoscope with a camera. The lighting wasn't that great because they had a fisheye lens because they wanted to look wide. But the fisheye lens had the effect of causing the beam to focus, or the light to focus. So you had the distorted effect, but you had the focusing light in the center of the block. But when you didn't really see much on the when the documentary was run, but I had a high-resolution image captured, and I brought it into my graphics program and lightened it, and we see that there's maybe something going on down at the bottom left here, indications that there may be a downward shaft, and also indications that it was rectangular. Because the feed rate of the chemical is not that great, then the feed shaft to the southern shaft does not have to be that big either. Only an inch and a half wide by all accounts. So then I revised my hypothesis on, if they fully explore, which I hope they do this year. They've got the University of Singapore, some students working on another robot. Hopefully they will be able to get a clearer look, maybe have an articulating arm that will look around. But basically I have modified my hypothesis somewhat. But the next week after that exploration, something really exciting came up. They explored the northern shaft. But, the clever Yankee ingenuity, when Gantenbrink tried to go up the northern shaft, his robot, it gripped the ceiling and the floor, and it came up to an obstacle where the shaft bends to go around, ostensibly to go around the Grand Gallery. And they had these exploration rods. Somebody had been sticking rods up to see if they can find some treasure in early times, and their rods have become stuck in the bends. Excuse me. Gantenbrink's robot could not get over those rods. Well, these clever iRobot team, they turned their robot 90 degrees, and so instead of gripping the floor and the ceiling, it gripped the walls, and it rolled right over the obstacles and around the bend, and guess what? Look what we've got. We have more electrodes, except these are different electrodes. The process, the chemical was different in this shaft. What we had was the zinc chloride solution. And what do you get when you pass an electric current through a solution with zinc chloride? You get an electroplating process. And look what we've got here. And the staining on the stone around this electrode right here. This one's fairly clean. This one has got that white patina on it. It's been electroplated, in my humble opinion. I hate people who say humble opinion. Nobody has a humble opinion. Not in this group. Anyway, so that, the promise is there. I mean, the evidence, as it keeps coming in, does not dispel the Giza power plant theory. It actually feeds into it and supports it. Now, let's see. I've got about, I got about 4 more hours of slides and, and about 20 minutes to go through them. We talked about machining, and, I'll tell you a story. It won't be too long. When Stephen and I, in 1999, he said, I saw that block that you wrote about in your book. This is a fantastic block. I said, yeah, I know. It's pretty good. He said, yeah, we need to go over there. We were over on just walking the Giza Plateau, and he says, let's go over there and take a look at it again, And I said, okay, we'll just walk over there. And I started walking this way, and he starts walking the other way. And I'm like, Stephen, where are you going? And he says, I'm going to your block. It's down here. No, it's not. Mine's over here. So he says, really? I said, yeah.